Imagine finding a shipwreck that might contain $138 million in pirate treasure. Not in some movie, in real life, right now. Picture this. April 8th, 1721. A massive Portuguese ship called the Nossa Senhora do Cabo is limping through the Indian Ocean near Réunion Island. They've just survived a brutal storm. The crew made a desperate choice. They threw their cannons overboard to keep from sinking. Now they're defenseless, sailing with some of the most valuable cargo you could imagine. Gold bars, diamonds, pearls, religious artifacts made of pure gold. The Archbishop of Goa is on board. So is the Portuguese viceroy. Then they see the black flags. Pirates, led by one of the most feared captains of the age, Olivier Levasseur. They called him La Bouse, the Buzzard, because when he struck, it was swift, ruthless, and there was nothing left but bones. What happened next would become one of the greatest pirate heists in history. And today, 300 years later, researchers think they finally found what's left of that ship. Let me tell you why this discovery matters and what it tells us about a forgotten chapter of history that Hollywood barely scratches the surface of. Here's what makes this find so incredible. For 16 years, a team from the Center for Historic Shipwreck Preservation has been diving in the waters off Madagascar, specifically near a small island that used to be called Île Sainte-Marie. Today it goes by Nosy Boraha. Back in the early 1700s, this was Pirate Central. Think about it. Madagascar sits right along the shipping lanes between India and Europe. Every ship carrying treasure from the East Indies had to pass by. The island had hidden coves, calm harbors, fresh water, food, and here's the key: no colonial government, no navy patrols, complete freedom to do whatever you wanted. By the 1690s, over 1,000 pirates called this place home. They didn't just raid ships and disappear. They built houses, they married local women, they created their own society. Some pirates even sunk their old ships in the harbor to create an underwater wall, a barrier against any navy ships that might come looking for them. Back to our Portuguese ship. When Levasseur and his partner John Taylor attacked, the Nossa Senhora do Cabo couldn't fight back. No cannons, remember? The pirates took everything. And when I say everything, I mean they captured so much treasure that they didn't even bother robbing the individual passengers. Why pick pockets when you've got literal tons of gold? Here's what each pirate received as their share: 42 diamonds, plus gold and goods worth about 4,000 pounds. That's millions in today's money, per person. But the real prize? Something called the Fiery Cross of Goa, made of pure gold, covered in diamonds, rubies, and emeralds. So heavy it took 3 men just to carry it to Levasseur's ship. After the raid, the pirates sailed their prize 400 miles west to Madagascar, to their base at Île Sainte-Marie. There, they divided up one of the biggest scores in pirate history. Now here's where it gets interesting for us today. The researchers studying this wreck have pulled up over 3,300 artifacts: religious figures carved from ivory, a plaque with gold letters spelling out INRI, pieces that match exactly what historical records say was on that ship when it left Goa. Brandon Clifford, who leads the research team, says this is just the beginning. He believes 7 to 10 ships were either wrecked or intentionally sunk near the island during piracy's golden age. At least 4 pirate vessels might still be sitting on that harbor floor, covered by centuries of sand and silt. But here's what really gets me about this story. We're not just talking about treasure. We're looking at evidence of an entire world that existed outside the law. These weren't just criminals. They were creating their own civilization. They had their own economy, stealing from the East India companies and selling to American colonists who couldn't get these goods legally. They had their own justice system, their own culture. Levasseur himself, his story doesn't end with this raid. He kept pirating for 9 more years until the French finally caught him. On July 7, 1730, as he stood on the gallows in Réunion, he supposedly ripped a necklace from his throat and threw it into the crowd. On it was a coded message, a cryptogram that allegedly revealed where he hid his treasure. To this day, people are still trying to crack that code. Think about what we're really looking at here. We're not just talking about gold and jewels, though Clifford and archaeologist Mark Agostini estimate the treasure from this one ship alone could be worth over $138 million today. This is about understanding a part of history that shaped global trade, colonial power, and even American independence. Those pirates funneling goods to Boston and New York, they were helping colonists break free from British trade restrictions decades before the Revolution. The Nossa Senhora do Cabo wreck, if that's really what they've found, opens a window into this world. Every artifact they pull up tells a story. The religious items remind us this wasn't just cargo, it was culture being transported across empires. The fact that about 200 enslaved Mozambicans were reportedly on board reminds us of the human cost of this global trade system. What's wild is how much is still down there. The researchers say excavation is tough because of all the sand and silt. They're basically archaeology detectives piecing together clues from the ocean floor. And they've been ignored for too long. Agostini points out that Île Sainte-Marie has been overlooked by historians and archaeologists for years. So yeah, we're talking about pirates and treasure, but we're also talking about globalization before that was even a word. About people who rejected the system and created their own. About how the Indian Ocean was just as important to piracy as the Caribbean, maybe more so. Every time they dive on that wreck, they might find another piece of the puzzle. Another glimpse into a world where fortune could change with the wind, where outcasts became kings, and where one lucky raid could set you up for life, or get you hanged. Makes you wonder what else is hiding down there in those waters, what other stories are waiting to be told. Because if there's one thing this discovery proves, it's that the golden age of piracy left behind more than just legends. It left evidence, real, tangible pieces of history worth more than their weight in gold. What do you think? Is the treasure still out there somewhere? Or did 3 centuries of storms and currents scatter it across the ocean floor? Like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video.